Welcome, newcomers. It's Late Night Friday, going live a little bit. Let's talk about software engineering. I like talking about software engineering. What up, Peng Ziki? Good to see you. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. I'm a software engineer. I like talking about software engineering and what comes with the territory and the secrets involved in software engineering. What up, Chronically Spicy? What up, Nick? How you doing, Nick? Happy Friday. It's late. I should be in bed, but what the hell? I want to know your guys' secrets in software engineering. I got plenty of secrets to share, but I want to know y'all's secrets. It's 11:41 p.m. where I am right now, so it's still Friday. I can still say Happy Friday. Peng Ziki says, I'm very much interested in software development and I don't know where to start. Well, you've started already, because if you're interested, you've begun, and you've come to the right place to learn about software engineering. My recommendation is it's fair to say one of the best places to start in software engineering is trying to think like a software engineer. And one of the best ways you can learn to think like a software engineer is find some kind of hobby that exercises your brain's ability to think logically. And it doesn't have to be coding. It could be anything. It could be music. It could be math. It could be quilting. It could be board games. It could be video games. It could be anything. Ultimately, you probably will have to start coding because most software engineers have at least some ability to code. Not all have the ability to code. And if you're looking for a programming language with a low barrier of entry and a not very steep learning curve, you're going to be wanting to look at things like C# or Java or potentially JavaScript and maybe JSON too. Maybe stay clear of things like C++ or Rust as your first programming language. Welcome, folks. It's the second live of the night. I went live earlier, took a little break, and now I'm back. Happy Friday, y'all. We're talking about software engineering, and I want to share as many secrets as I can, answer as many questions as I can you have about software engineering, or if you are already a software engineer, sharing the secrets about why your senior devs do the things that they do, or more importantly, why they don't do the things that you wish they did. So if you have senior engineers on your team that make you scratch your head and go, why did they do that thing? Or why did they ask me that question? Be happy to shed some light on the subject. And this is the part of the live where I do not recommend you double click the screen to send likes. What up, Robert? Key Guys says, would you recommend boot camps or college, looking for the fastest entry level knowledge? You're never going to go wrong with college, but if that's not in the cards, boot camps are also a perfectly viable option, assuming you've vetted them properly. What I mean by that is boot camps that are being sold on TikTok from nobodies who are just trying to pitch their wares to you, you might want to think twice about taking their boot camp. And just as a reminder, that random nobody on the internet selling their boot camp will never be me, because not only will I never try to sell you something, but I will never have a boot camp. Nick Provot says, learning JavaScript myself and coding daily. Curious your opinion is the best path for JavaScript dev. Keep doing what you're doing. I would say continue spending time repetition on JavaScript until you have a pretty good understanding of both beginner and mid-tier level subjects. I personally believe that TypeScript is the future. So once you feel like you have a pretty good grasp on JavaScript, do not sleep on TypeScript. Key Guy says, I've seen boot camps from universities. What would you say the integrity of those are? I actually had no idea that universities had boot camps. Are these state schools? Are these private universities? What are these? So this guy right here is a 1968 King 3B Silver Sonic. It's one of my pride and joys. And then off screen, I have a Box Stradivarius 42T with a Thayer valve, which is more of my symphonic horn, and that is my jazz horn. Yeah, breaking into the tech industry can be very difficult. I can't speak too much about the modern day and age of things, considering I broke into the tech industry back in about 2007. Antonio says, where do you play? Well, I used to play a lot more. I don't have too much time to play anymore, but I played semi-professionally in the Seattle Sounders FC. That's the Seattle Sounders football club, the soccer team. They had a band because about, I forget, maybe 12 to 15 years ago, Drew Carey, yes, the Drew Carey is one of the owners of the Seattle Sounders FC club, said, hey, if I'm going to invest in this club, if I'm going to be one of the part owners, it needs to have a band, like a marching band / pep band thing. So yeah, I joined that, did that for about 6 years, and it was a blast. Someone says your name got cut off. What does it take to go from mid-levels to senior? So any type of career progression, it depends on the company, but generally speaking, it's a matter of scope. What I mean by that is if you're a mid-level, you're primarily focusing on like accepting stories and features that have already been completely vetted by your senior and principal engineers. So like any ambiguity in them is mostly eliminated. So you have a pretty good idea on like what it is you need to do the moment your story has been assigned to you. Seniors, your responsibility is to figure out what's ambiguous about a feature that's been requested by program management, working out some of those kinks before you assign them to your junior devs. And that whole assignment process is also very important because even though you very well could have handled that story yourself, it's more practical and cost-effective for it to be taken by one of the more junior devs. Bird of Wisdom, that's where I keep it all. I store it. Eric says, besides your job, what other ways do you make extra income? Nowhere. The only extra money I make is from TikTok Live, which is cents, and I will never accept or cash out any of it because I don't want to deal with having to pay taxes on it. So it just sits in this magic rectangle that I'm looking at right now. Where were you a principal engineer? Well, I'm not, it's not in the past. I currently am a principal engineer at a very large software company, which is not Microsoft or Google or Amazon. You don't invest. Oh, sorry. I misunderstood your question. Yes, I invest heavily. Not in any kind of crypto, but I have very conventional investing, heavy investing. I don't have any side hustles is what I thought you were asking about. 401k, max that bastard out. I think the current limit is $19,500. Take full advantage of your company's matching policy, also their ESPP policy if you have that, employee stock purchase program. Max it out as much as you can, because usually you get like 10% discount on the stock, so it's free money. Looks like a C programmer? Absolutely not. I might look the part, but I like front end app. I like shiny, pretty things. Nathan Lou Biebert says, I'm in college and I'm a CIS student. Is there any general advice you could give me? Is that computer information services? I mean, I don't have a conventional background in CS either. My background is in mathematics. So if your goal is to become like a software engineer, I don't feel any reason why you should feel like you're at a disadvantage because you don't have a conventional CS degree. I do not work at Apple. Computer information service systems. Gotcha. Jude says, me too. Melly Mari says, are companies more likely to hire someone with a degree, or would a cert from a boot camp be enough? Well, the problem is many companies have automated processes that like parse your resume and will immediately filter out people who don't have 4-year degrees. I don't say that like it's a good thing. It's a bad thing. Because I personally don't think there's any real difference between the two, because a lot about what really matters to me is what I learn about you during the interview process. Jude says, I studied math, not CS. I'm now a data engineer. That's awesome. You rock. Keep rocking it. Fellow math majors unite. Twink says, resume parsers don't like LaTeX. That's probably true. As someone who absolutely loves LaTeX and used to take notes in college in my math classes using LaTeX, yeah, I can see why they wouldn't like LaTeX, even though it's objectively better in many ways for typesetting documents. Nathan says, do you have any experience using R? I do not. Twink says, I still use LaTeX for everything. And hopefully you mean LaTeX and not latex, because many people are allergic to latex. Yeah, LaTeX is very much like super powered HTML. Twink says, yes, LaTeX with capital L, capital T, capital X. Garden Fiddle 659 says, what stack do you currently work with? I have a pretty generic front-end stack. My team specifically ships a JavaScript API, but we build it in TypeScript. So I'm mostly in TypeScript, and then for back-end stuff, it's mostly C++ and some Java and a little bit of C#. Cash Meat says, how do I get good at LeetCode? I get suboptimal solutions all the time, hard to get optimal. So if you're brand new to LeetCode, or if you're just trying to figure it all out yourself, there's no shame in quote-unquote cheating. Go look up the damn answer on YouTube. There's one for every single one of them. See how other people do it. And try to find the ones where they're not trying to be super clever. Just like find normal, good old-fashioned solutions from everyday software engineers and see how they do it. And then do it the same way. And then see how you can potentially improve it or change it until your brain goes, oh, that makes sense. And then if you take another LeetCode problem, you'll see, oh, well, I can apply some of those learnings I made by looking at how someone else did it. In software engineering, there's absolutely no shame in like borrowing code or borrowing ideas or reusing solutions used by someone else. Contrary to what you may have been taught in school, you don't always have to write all the code yourself. Eric says, what does it take to go from junior engineer to software engineering? I'm assuming that means senior. But yeah, moving up the career ladder, first of all, understand that it's a slow process and you have to be very patient. But it's all really a matter of showing up every day, being consistent, and slowly but surely increasing your scope and taking on responsibilities that normally are reserved for the role that's one step above you. So once you can consistently prove that you can operate as a senior engineer, even though you're just a mid-level engineer, then the conversation with your manager and the leadership about whether or not you should be promoted to a senior engineer will be much easier. I found Gabe says, something not intuitive to be in, but you want to see in an operational launch readiness doc. That's a hard question. The things that I look for mostly are disaster recovery. Like, what the heck are you going to do when something goes wrong? Inevitably, something will go wrong. I like to see that stuff. Your name got cut off. Did you have to do on-call? Yes, I've been on-call many years in various capacities. Is principal 7 or 8? I don't know what that means. Some companies use like L7, L8 terminology. Mine does not, so I don't know how that maps. Ryan Vast Fitness says, I'm currently scrolled off. I apologize. I'm not going to scroll because it jiggles the phone around. Nathan says, has tech in general been like a good career for you? Like it's super stressful? It didn't start out stressful. It became stressful for reasons outside of my control while I was at Microsoft. And I thought I had some control over it, but for whatever reason, I just couldn't control it. And it got to be unsustainable, mostly around on-call rotations. So the stress levels got too high. I aired my grievances with those who could have helped improve my situation, but they didn't help my situation fast enough, so I left the company. Have I ever developed mobile devices? Only once. At one point, I wrote a test framework using Objective-C so I could run automated tests on a Apple iPhone simulator that would automatically take screenshots of my web application in various languages, so I could see how the web application would look in various languages to make sure we didn't have any localization or globalization issues. This is like before there were tools online that would do this stuff for you. And Phil Valera says, do I enjoy being an IC? Would I ever want to convert to an engineering management? I've been asked this question many times by my management. I'm always very honest with them. I always say, no, I want to be an IC forever. I've assumed the position of an engineering manager many times while they were on vacation or on paternity leave or something like that. And I can do it. It's just not fun for me. I did meet Ballmer, not personally, but like I met him and both Bill Gates at company meetings and stuff. Ballmer is a wild, wild man. Nathan also says, are there any languages you would recommend learning? I've learned Python, SQL, and R. You are very well equipped, my friend, for many different opportunities. If you want to broaden your opportunities, choose a less specialized language. I mean, Python is not very specialized, but SQL and R I feel kind of are. No pun intended. I would look at things more like C Sharp, Java, and JavaScript. You'll be well equipped. Key Guy says, would software engineering knowledge enable a person to reverse engineer data in EEPROM devices? I don't have much experience with like hardware stuff. Maybe. It wouldn't hurt, but you probably want to go into more like systems engineering. Okay. Anthel says, I tried to move into engineering management, but I've gotten tons of pushback. I've mentored and lead. And that's fine. That's one pathway to getting to engineering management. You start with mentoring. But you got to remember, there always has to be a business need for you to get promoted to management. If there are no new teams or no managers leave the company, and the business doesn't need a new manager, you're never going to be able to switch. So you should try to make those opportunities. If you can find a piece of functionality in the software or a new product that needs to launch that would require spinning up a new team that would not necessarily have a manager, and you could be that manager, you got to make that pitch to leadership. That's one way of doing it. Nathan says, are there any, oh, it scrolled off, I apologize. Yusuf says, what kind of projects did you make in the beginning of your career? So I started my career as a software design engineer and software tester. And so I was primarily responsible for testing product built by the dev team. But that wasn't to say that I couldn't build internal testing tools and frameworks to help facilitate both me and the rest of my team to test things more efficiently. So a lot of the things I like quote unquote shipped in the first 7 years of my career were like internal testing tools, methodologies, and frameworks. I kind of miss it actually. I loved being a software tester. How in the world are there 60 of you still awake right now and listening to some old fart talk about software engineering? Payne Ziki says, can you share a story of a complex project that you work with? Not without giving away too many details, but my team does build a very complex JavaScript API that many people use, customers use, to interact with my company's primary product. Are you comfortable doing LeetCode hard problems? Nope. I never want to be, actually. In fact, when I was preparing for my interviews at my current job, I knew there's going to be some kind of coding problem during the interviews, and I explicitly did not do any LeetCode hard problems because if any company held an interview and they asked me to do a LeetCode hard problem in an hour, I wouldn't want to work for that company anyway. Ryan said they asked me to do a LeetCode hard problem in an hour. I wouldn't want to work for that company anyway. Ryan said they asked me to do a LeetCode hard problem in an hour. I wouldn't want to work for that company anyway. Ryan says they asked me to do a LeetCode hard problem in an hour. I wouldn't want to work for that company anyway. Ryan says, I'm currently working on a large team with the company, senior staff devs, and a junior. How can I stand out? You're a junior. You just need to keep doing what you're doing and learn as much as you can from your senior devs and try to emulate them as much as possible. And by emulate, I mean even copying what they do and pretending to act like a senior dev, even if you don't necessarily feel like you fit the criteria. What I mean, there's a certain amount of faking it until you make it in software engineering, but like once you realize that if you start faking it, like it's going to feel like it's coming natural to you without having the additional requirement that you need to fake it. Do you share where you work or worked at? Not on live, but if you scroll through my videos, I shared it in a couple of them. It's a big software company, not Google or Microsoft or Apple. Nathan, sorry, I'm not ignoring your question about cybersecurity languages. I don't have much experience with cybersecurity, so the only answer I can give you is to keep it broad, C# or Java or Python. I appreciate all the engagement and likes and all that stuff because like this is super fun for me. I love sharing the insider secrets of software engineering because as I was progressing through my career, no one ever did that for me. I always had to figure it out on my own. So I figured it'd be nice if someone would do that. Abri said, I just got a C on my midterm. I'm feeling defeated. Let me tell you how many midterms I got C's or D's on. A lot. In fact, and I'm not ashamed to share it, but I got my degree in math, and I was pretty good at undergraduate math. Most classes I did very well in. But then for whatever reason, I felt compelled to like continue studying. I entered graduate school at the same university to try to get a graduate degree in mathematics. And I did okay, some classes better than others, but at this point, I realized like math really kind of wasn't for me. And I decided to quit. I gave up 3 semesters into a graduate degree in math. It's okay to fail because like you learn something. You learn that some things aren't for you. And had I not done that, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'd be teaching math. And that's not to say that that's not a notable career. I'm sure I'd be plenty happy. I'd probably even be happier if I was teaching math all the time. But I wouldn't be where I am today. Yep. Yeah, there's a special place in my heart for math. And speaking of math, if you ever feel like you're taking your math courses in college and like it's a complete waste of your time because you just want to be a software engineer, remove that mentality from your brain right now, because math is less about the math and more about the actual problem solving. Because like, say you're solving a triple integral in Calculus 3. Sure, like you'll probably never do that in software engineering, but the act of training your brain to think about how to solve problems like that and break them down into smaller, more digestible pieces transfers directly when you're solving problems, technical, abstract problems as a software engineer. Nathan says, should I be worried about the tech layoffs if I'm going into tech? A little bit, but these things come and go. I've lived and survived at least 3 or 4 major layoffs in my career, and they still scare me, but you know. Jason of TikTok says, where am I today? I am in my room downstairs. No, I'm in Redmond, Washington. I used to work at Microsoft. I worked at Microsoft for almost 14 years. I've lived here in the greater Seattle area for a long time. In fact, if you asked me to solve a triple integral today, I probably couldn't do it right away, but I could probably figure it out because I've conditioned my brain over the many years to be able to figure out just about any technical problem. Jason of TikTok, .NET Dev here. Yeah, I worked in the .NET stack for almost the entire time I was there at Microsoft. C#. What level did I get at Microsoft? Whatever the one is right before Principal. So I think that's 64. I think Principal is 65. I started out as 57 though, not 59 like most dev ones. I was 57. I was not an intern though. And 57 is normally reserved for interns. I started off as a software design engineer in test trainee. Z Hamden says, I started a CS master's after doing a neuroscience bachelor's, and it is such a rough transition. First of all, you are smarter than I will ever be. But I can understand that would be a big transition. Hopefully some of the skills you learned while learning neuroscience transferred to CS. Jude says, triple integral of a cylinder with a density of 1. Yeah, no thanks. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. I had a great time during Calc 2 and Calc 3. How much money did you make the first year out of college? Well, I didn't start my first year out of college in software engineering, but when I got hired at Microsoft as a 57, as a SED in training, I made $65,000 with a $5,000 relocation bonus and no sign-on bonus. And let me tell you, that was more money than I'd ever seen in my entire life. I was completely over the moon when I got that offer. Yusuf says, how are you able to implement your knowledge in programming to actually do work for companies? It's difficult because like when you're just starting out, you think like, oh yeah, I know some languages, but I don't know how to build anything. But the moment you're asked to build something or test something for the first time, you're essentially thrown in the deep end, and it's hard. It's hard to stay afloat. It's really easy to drown. But something they don't ever tell you is that your team is there to help you and hold your hand. And that never really goes away at any level. There's almost always someone there to help hold your hand. When will Mac catch up to Windows? I'm not sure what that means. Like they're just operating systems. I mean, in terms of market share, I don't know. Z Hamden, love your vids. Thanks, I appreciate that. I very much enjoy making videos. The hardest part is figuring out what kind of video to make, but like, it's fun. Nathan says, this is a dumb question, but how do you learn all the tech lingo? It's okay, so I'm very passionate about this. I don't like lingo, I don't like acronyms, especially if people use them under the assumption that everyone in the audience they're speaking to knows what those acronyms or lingo mean. It's incredibly not inclusive, especially if those acronyms or lingo mean. It's incredibly not inclusive, especially to new hires. who are just trying to get by. So I try my best not to use lingo or acronyms unless I'm defining them in the same breath. Jude says, I think the most important parts of software is like maintainability and flexible to changes too. It's very true. When you're writing code, I personally try to think 2 to 5 years in the future at all times because software changes a lot. It's really volatile. So whoever's writing that code may not be the same person who has to maintain it 2 years down the road or test it 2 years down the road. It's going to be somebody else. And do you care about the person? When you're writing code, do you think about this person who's going to have to maintain this code or update this code or test this code in the future? You should be thinking about them and you should be empathetic to them. Them unit says, do you think starting your career at a company like Google can hinder your growth? No way. That would be a great start to your career. Jude says, acronyms are a way to make like an in crowd and an out crowd of code. Yeah, yeah. There are groups, there are cliques in software engineering, just like there were in high school and college. And hopefully the company you work for tries to eliminate cliques to foster an inclusive work environment for people to feel like they belong. You do belong. You got hired. You belong at the company. That's all that matters. Z Hamden says, do you have advice for making yourself more marketable for co-op or internships? Not really. I'm old, so like I'm kind of somewhat removed from that. Sorry. Thoughts on working or interning at a startup? I don't know. It's all about your like risk, your ability to like assume risk. If you're not in a great financial situation, I would probably stay away from a startup, especially if you don't know what their funding is like or whether or not you might have a job in 6 months. If you're in a pretty good financial situation, then sure, go for it. What do you think of Java Spring Boot? I don't know. Papa Code, that's me. Call me your senior dev or your Papa Code, whatever you want. Call me whatever you want. I don't care. Altonian says, I saw Discord's paying interns 67 bucks an hour. It blew my mind. Yeah, I don't know if that's good. I don't know what a good hourly rate is anymore. I'm kind of old and I've been salaried for so long. But it sounds good. Like if I made 67 bucks an hour, I'd be pretty happy. Minimum wage in my area is generally around 18 to 20 bucks an hour. I see advertised. So that's 3 to 4 times minimum wage. Sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, it's no secret that software engineering has very high demand. So like the money is generally pretty good. Yeah, 18 to 20 bucks an hour. It does seem like a livable wage, assuming you don't live in a high cost of living area like myself. I don't live in San Francisco by any means, but like the greater Seattle area is crazy. I mean, if you wanted to buy a home right now, like you're like SOL if it's your first home. My home has over doubled in value since I purchased it about 7 years ago. Eyes Closed says, hey dude, do you got like 1 hour coaching calls? No. These are my coaching calls and they're free. I got a Discord link in my bio. It's not my Discord, it's a Discord that me and several other tech content creators made here on TikTok. Because I think having a Discord just for me is pretentious. Because I'm nobody. So you can head over there and ask questions and stuff. And we can like knock it out. Yeah, minimum wage is not livable at all. Like it's just impossible. I try to stay as grounded as I can and like empathetic to people who make minimum wage. I'm happy that in Washington, at least Western Washington, it's pretty good. Minimum wage isn't terrible. And a lot of places who normally would pay minimum wage pay more than minimum wage. Like the ice cream shops in Redmond are like 18 to 20 bucks an hour starting. Ice cream. It's now Saturday where I live, so happy Saturday, y'all. There's so much stuff going on this screen. I don't even know what half of it means. Add live goal. Tips for going live. Daily ranking. Like, what does all this mean? TikTok is so bizarre. Yeah, I'm not even sure how much I make. If I were to like translate my salary to an hourly rate, I don't even know what it would be. I haven't done the math. More than minimum wage. That's all I can say. Eyes Closed. Thank you for the rose. I'm rich now. Jude Cappuccietti, is that Italian? I don't understand why minimum wage isn't enough to live, because America. That's why. Because America's gonna be America, and they people like to keep people poor. Keep the poor people poor. Case in point, and I've talked about this in previous lives. Let's talk about a recent addition that Microsoft made to Microsoft Edge that I feel pretty passionate about. Negative. I'm not sure if it actually shipped, but it was a buy now, pay later type scheme. Where, like, if you ever purchase something online, say like on Amazon or any other online retailer, Edge would detect that you were purchasing something and pop up a little dialogue that says, hey, you could have paid 10% of the purchase price now and then pay it off over time using this like little service. And that sounds great in practice, but it's super predatory, because if you are financially disadvantaged and you're not able to pay that off in time, the interest rates are astronomical and you end up paying way more than had you just paid it off in real time. Even more than interest rates on credit cards and stuff. So like, why would the PMs at Microsoft like make this decision to add this into Microsoft Edge? It's shameful. So I worked at Microsoft, but I didn't drink the Kool-Aid like many people did. Like, if you can't criticize the company that you work for, why are you working there? Same goes with anything in life. Nothing is beyond scrutiny, if you ask me. Nothing. How long have I been doing lives? About 2 days. What up, Attractive? You were one of my first followers, and I very much appreciate all your interaction and help along the way. I did my first live 2 nights ago, I think. I've been downloading all my lives and uploading them to a playlist on YouTube, which I haven't actually added a link to in my bio yet on my Linktree. Before I upload them, I use a little tool I wrote and made a video about recently about removing any lengthy periods of silence from my videos. Because like, I did a live about 5 hours long just the other night, and removing all the silences that were longer than 1 second removed almost 20 minutes from the video. Board McBoard says, how long have you played the trombone? About 30 years, semi-professionally. Started in elementary school, played all throughout high school. I did marching band and jazz big band at Washington State University, played lead bone there for many, many years. I played in the Seattle Sounders band for about 6 years, played in various small groups in the Seattle area. I love to play the trombone. Jude, programmatically, yes. Check out a video, it's a few videos back. It's essentially a wrapper on FFmpeg, runs it once to detect all the pieces in a video that have silence, runs it again to split it all up, cut it into small subsegments where all the segments that don't have any audio are deleted, and then runs it again to combine them all back in all together into one big video. Yep, Jude, yeah, there's no editing. I just push a button and it does it all for me. There are plenty of applications that'll do this stuff for me. I think CapCut might do it, or what's the other one, DaVinci Resolve or whatever, but like, what's the fun in that? I'm gonna write the code to do it myself. CC Miller says, what's your dev stack of choice? I love TypeScript and C#. I feel very at home and in my happy place when I'm writing code there. Yeah, I got a link on the Discord in my bio in the general chat. I just put it there, but I'll put it in my link tree as well. Martine says, you see the demons yet? I'm in tech too. Don't know what you mean, but yeah, I see there's lots of demons in tech. In fact, I use the word demon specifically in Slack when people were having lots of trouble signing into stuff today. There were some major outages at my company, and I said, there be demons. User K9, no, okay. CC Miller, nice, I'm PHP Laravel, backend TypeScript, JS Vue. That's awesome. CC Miller, you're equipped. You're gonna be successful. Eyes closed, thank you for the rose. I appreciate the penny. Nathan says, thank you for answering all the questions. That's my job. I love answering questions. I like solving problems. That's my job, I like solving problems. Kotlin, yes. My company uses Kotlin a lot. We have a very, very complicated Java stack, and Kotlin comes along with it. Yeah, I haven't had too many opportunities to work in it myself. But when I'm reading it, I'm having a good time when I'm reading it. If I'm reading a language and not having a good time, which is generally the case when I'm reading or even writing C++, like that's just the case. Take it easy, Martine. That guy on fire says, what suggestion do you have for getting into the field being self-taught? Well, I'm primarily self-taught. Took a few courses here and there. But it's really all about showing up and being consistent and persistent and repetitious. Meaning like practice, practice, practice until not only can you get it right, that's the first step in being able to like break into the industry, but practice so much that you just can't get it wrong. Because if you can't get it wrong, then once you come to your interview, you're gonna rock it. Subscribed on YouTube, awesome. I don't really have a YouTube presence. I mostly just use it for backup. Like I have a bunch of like home videos and things. I just throw them up there as private videos for myself, like double backup. But yeah, I'm gonna start uploading all the archives from my live videos here on TikTok on YouTube. Flutter or React Native? I have no idea. I've never used either. Sorry, but I don't know either. If React Native is anything like React, I don't know. It's okay. I like React for the most part, and it's finally starting to click for me. It took me a little while. I've had some aha moments recently while I was debugging some React and Redux and Redux Toolkit. Take it easy, Nathan. Have a good night. I'll probably do this live for another, I don't know, at least an hour. I don't want to stay up too late because I want to be semi-productive tomorrow and not hungover, although it will probably be hungover. If you can't tell, I've had a few Mountain Dews tonight. You just look smart as hell. Not true. It's just a beard. The track says, I'm still a Vue fanboy. You know, I really need to check out Vue because I've been using Vite lately. And if you don't know about Vite, it's a combination of like a dev server for building web applications plus bundler, kind of like Webpack, but it doesn't use Webpack internally. Anyway, the guy who wrote Vue wrote Vite. And if Vite is anything like Vue, or if Vue is anything like Vite, I'm gonna love it. CC Miller, you got it. Consistency, confidence, even if it's not real confidence, you just have to fake it. Commitment, evidence, I would add motivation to that as well. And also, be nice. Be nice to people. If you're not nice, nobody's gonna want to work with you, and more importantly, no one's gonna want to promote you. Because promotion means they gotta work with you more. Put a smile on your face, even if it's covered by a big mustache. CC Miller, nice developers, whatever, next, talking to people. I know, right? Here's another little secret. You're going to talk to people more than you write code. You're not going to be able to sit all alone in your office, tucked away with your hoodie pulled over your head with your AirPods in, writing code all day. It's just not going to happen. Thanks for the gifts. I really appreciate them. You're going to be talking to people because 90% of software engineering is figuring out what code you need to write before you've actually written it. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. I didn't even realize that these gifts on live like translate to money. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought they were just kind of for fun. I saw they had like associated like coin. I didn't really know what that meant. But dude, check it out. I'm wearing a hat. Do I have another hat? Hold on. Oh, it's gone already. Sorry if I broke that, but I appreciate the cap. Although I don't know if that means like cap as in like I'm Cap. I hope that's not the case. Asking ChatGPT. Let's talk about ChatGPT because I generally try to like avoid talking about it because it's like, I don't know, it's super popular for people to talk about it on ChatGPT or on TikTok, and like it's oversaturated. I made one video about it because like I just wanted to please people. Anyway, yeah, it's a great tool. It's fun. I think it's going to become just a productivity tool for software engineers, at least in the next 5 years or so. Same thing with all the other competitors like Bing Chat and Google, whatever it's called. But yeah, it's just going to act as a tool for software developers to be more productive. I don't personally use it, even at home. I don't even know if I'm allowed to use it at work. But sometimes I use GitHub Copilot, which I very much enjoy, and it surprises me every day on how good it is at knowing what it is exactly I'm about to type. And I use it as just a means of improving my productivity because if what I'm about to type is what shows up as the suggestion by GitHub Copilot, I'm just going to push tab and accept it. I don't use it as a way to like figure out what I want to type. I use it to confirm what it is I want to type. Show me the trombones. Okay, well, So this guy here is a 1968 King 3B Silversonic. I love it. This is a silly little slide trumpet that I got at a pawn shop. I don't know. It's just a toy. That's not a trombone. That's a telescope. I got another one. Let me just grab it. We got a Bach Stradivarius 42T. It's got a Thayer valve on it. It's kind of my more symphonic horn. I don't play it enough. It's also very dusty and dirty. Yep. I got a couple more over here too. I have a plastic one called a P-Bone. It's really cheap. It's only maybe $100. It sounds like you're playing on a toilet though. It sounds terrible. And I've donated several recently to friends who are music teachers because I got too many and I don't need them. Yep. Got a couple other instruments laying around too. Trumpets, stuff. Trombone king. Yeah. What don't you play? I do not play any reed instruments because reed instruments are for sissies. If you play the reed instrument, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not true. Yeah, P-bones are fun and they're very cheap. They're great for like introductory. Children can play them. Bach 32B open flow valve. Nice. That's a great horn. Yeah. I wish I had more opportunities to play. I don't get too many anymore. You play bass for Wycliffe Gordon? No way. No way. Dude, Wycliffe is the man. Okay, y'all don't know, Wycliffe is like one of the best trombone players on the planet right now. And if Rust played bass for him, I am super envious of you. Now, I definitely miss playing in a group environment, especially like a jazz big band type environment. Our bridge, I'm coding right now. Good, don't stop, code all night long. I appreciate. It's very hard to stand out on TikTok. Like there's so many tech content creators, and I have no idea what I'm doing. You know, I spent maybe 6 months on TikTok just scrolling before I started making content, just to get an idea of like what I felt was missing from TikTok. And I felt like there's a lot of low effort content on TikTok, and that's not a fault of the content creators who make it. It's like TikTok is made for like simple videos that are low effort just to get people to watch and like engage so that they can show more ads. That's not really my style. I like longer videos, even if they don't do as well. Maybe they're more boring because people like short videos and stuff. I like more involved videos, and maybe I should be making content on YouTube or something. But I don't know, just having fun. Captain Rice Cake. I played lead crumb horn for Nipsey Mandel. I don't know if that's sarcasm or not, but it sure is funny. And that's also a sentence that never once has been spoken in the history of humankind. And I love sentences like that. Schleppen says, how do I get promoted from associate software engineer? I'm assuming that's like a junior level software engineer. And my advice is always the same. It's a matter of like showing up every day and being consistent and trying to understand what the next level up is from you. So say like the next level up is like mid-level. You need to understand what their responsibilities are and trying to actually like perform at that level for some amount of time, maybe 3 to 6 months or maybe even a year. And be honest with your manager that like you feel like you are actively working at that level. Because once you are, then the promotion process should be very smooth. I don't think I've seen many principal engineers on my FYP. It's true. We're very elusive, and there aren't many of us. And also, we don't make content on TikTok. I'm just like, supremely bored. That's why I do it. Also, I felt like just playing video games all the time was just a giant waste of time. And I felt like I had some knowledge that I could share and help other people on this planet that we share to win. Even if it means like making a fool of myself on TikTok. Schlepp says, it's been about 6 months. I haven't graduated yet. Probably should expect promotion soon. Yeah, you should. But you need to, there's some onus on you. You need to be talking to your manager saying like, hey, like I want to start the promotion process. Let's put a document together that details all the things that like I probably should do or be in the process of doing or getting better at doing to get my promotion. And also, unfortunately, to get a promotion, the business has to have a need for another software engineer at the next level. Now, if you're an associate, it's less of a problem. There's almost always a business need for mid-level and senior engineers. So, Attractive says, I wish I posted more content. I always talk myself out of it. Here's a secret. Before I made my first video, I literally stared at myself in the camera for like 5 minutes before I pushed the little record button. I was so nervous, I thought I was going to throw up. Yeah, Henhouse is right. It is literally your manager's job to promote you. That's their job. And if they're not doing that, they're not doing their job. Because the company wants you to move up. It's in their best interests. They'll make more money. Even though they have to pay you more, the business as a whole is going to make money by investing in your career progression. Schlep says, nice trombone. I played some bass trombone and jazz band. I never really played bass trombone. I kind of miss it. But for whatever reason, I was really attracted to playing high notes on the trombone, not low notes. Don't throw up on the beard. I will not throw up on the beard. I am done imbibing in adult beverages tonight. This is water. If you want to believe that. Yeah, I love bass bone. Yep, I love lead bone. I played second bone as well. I don't like third bone. I played third bone for many years as well. Third bone is kind of boring, but first and second are great. Second gets all the solos. First gets all the high notes. Tommy Dorsey, Glenn Miller will be proud. Yep. I did not expect to get trombone players or trombone enthusiasts on this live, but I'm glad it's happening. More secrets about the software industry. Who's side-eyeing? That's true. Third does have a lot of color notes. The band would sound terrible without a third trombone, let's put it that way. Where is chat going? It's going all over the place. I thought I was talking about software engineering. I don't have to talk about software engineering. I have lots of stuff to talk about. I'd be happy to share. If it's after midnight, I'm happy to share anything. It doesn't have to be about software engineering. I am more than just a software engineer. In fact, software engineering is one of the least interesting parts of my life. Software engineering to me is just pushing buttons on a keyboard in the correct order and accepting a paycheck. Yes, PHP ain't going anywhere anytime soon, as long as Facebook and WordPress are around. Who's the Maynard Ferguson equivalent for trombone? Hard to say. I have a few in mind, but for whatever reason, they're escaping me. It's been a little while since I've listened to them. They're going to come to me in about 3 minutes, just randomly. In fact, let me just pull up on my computer. I got my computer right here. I'm going to go onto YouTube. Let me make sure I'm muted so I don't blast you guys out. I'm trying to watch chat. JJ Johnson. Yeah. Oh, you could maybe say Trombone Shorty. I really like Trombone Shorty. I also like one of my favorite trombonists who reminds me of someone who might be called the Maynard of trombone is David Steinmeier. He played in the Airmen of Note, which is the United States Army jazz band. Oh, good. Yeah, Captain just said it. Dave Steinmeier. Yeah, Dave Steinmeier is the king of the stratosphere on trombone. React or Angular? I don't have any experience with Angular. I want to say React, but like I kind of feel like React is, I don't know. React to me kind of feels like it's losing its luster, and newer and shinier frameworks like Svelte and Vue are going to gain some traction soon. Tunnel says hi. I'm going to say hi. Kevin says, would you say tech is overpaid compared to industry jobs like construction? No. I don't think tech is overpaid, but I think industry jobs and like blue collar jobs are underpaid. I do not have a YouTube. I have a very simple one where I've started uploading these live archives to, but no, I don't make content on YouTube. Yeah, Blazor's pretty awesome. If you're a .NET Stack, C# dev, check out Blazor, especially if you don't like JavaScript. Russ says, thanks for the Steinmeier rec. Saw Village Vanguard. Yeah. Steinmeier, I've listened to so much of him. He's fantastic. Just go on YouTube right now and Google for like Airmen of Note or David Steinmeier. You'll spend a bunch of time there. Tunnel says, do software engineers make bank or is that a myth? It depends on what you mean by bank. Like, I am poor compared to lots of people. I'm also very rich compared to a lot of people. But generally speaking, software engineering is pretty accessible. Like most people could learn to be a software engineer and make bank. But most people could not become a celebrity or a movie star who make way more than I do, right? It's all relative. My upper register range, I used to be able to play very high. It's very difficult with the the mustache now, but like I had a very strong double high B flat, very strong. I guess I mean $250,000 or more. I mean, I make over $250,000. So, I mean, I don't know what that means. Is that a lot? To a lot of people, yes. To a lot of other people, no. How to convince manager to let me loose trying to upgrade .NET for the foreseeable future. This is hard because like you feel like you should be let loose. You should have some kind of flexibility, but you got to remember you need to prove to your manager that there's business need and return on investment for upgrading .NET. That's on you, because your manager's not going to know, especially if they're not a technical manager. If you say, hey, by doing this, you need to quantify how much money either the company is going to save or make by doing it. You can't just say, oh, I want to do it. No, it doesn't work. Yeah, I'm comfortable. Yeah, it's fine. Rodman says, that's a lot, no matter where you live in the U.S. Sure, yeah, it's a lot. I don't disagree with that. You just remember, like, it's not a lot to a lot of people. It's poverty wages to a lot of people. Furzball says, should I learn Visual Basic if I want to learn UI along with back end? No. No Visual Basic. It's fine, but I would focus my efforts elsewhere. Probably, if you wanted to do something similar to VB, do C#. Yeah, don't learn Fortran. I know Fortran. Well, at least I did 20 years ago. In fact, I have files on my computer right now that I wrote in Fortran over 20 years ago. I even have a Fortran compiler currently on my computer. And they still run in modern Windows 11. Tunnel says, did you get a degree in computer science or something similar? I started as computer science. I did a course in C and C++. Then I got to computer engineering and realized this was not for me. At that point, for the first time in my life, I had been challenged in math. I was the kind of kid in high school, I just breezed through math. I never studied nothing, just 100% all the time. I'm not trying to brag, that's just the state of that's just what happened. But when I got to college, math was finally hard, and it challenged me, and I loved it. And I realized that from the math courses I needed to take as part of computer science, I loved college level math, so I switched to math. Calc 2 bone you? It started to bone me. The first half of Calc 2, my brain wasn't quite ready for it. But once it finally clicked, yeah, it was great. I love Calc 2 and Calc 3 are some of my favorite classes I ever took. Antonio says, Andy, just want to say thanks for that encouragement for us juniors. You guys got it. Got it. If you ever need help too, just ask. Henhouse says, do I enjoy cryptography? I probably would if I ever tried it. I've never tried anything with crypto or blockchain or anything like that. Never. Pistol Grip says, Electronics 2 was what I felt like I was lost the most. Yeah, I got to CE and we were doing breadboard stuff and logic diagrams and I mean, it was fine, but I was like, what am I doing? Just not fun. Also, I took discrete math. I love discrete math. I loved graph theory. I loved combinatorics. I loved number theory. I loved differential equations. I liked numerical analysis. I did not like linear algebra. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood your question. Cryptography, like encryption? Yeah. Like I said, I probably would like it, but I never tried it. Discrete was chill, number theory was whack. Yeah, they're completely different. One's more theoretical. Number theory I felt was more applicable, especially if you're in CS or wanting to work in computers. I mean, the mathematics of binary arithmetic alone has helped me immensely doing bit masking and stuff, which is very common. Grim Fan says, I'm in linear algebra right now and I hate it. Yeah, I hated it too. I don't know why, it just felt so foreign to me. Especially someone who is also taking classes like calculus and differential equations. Those, for whatever reason, felt more real to me. linear algebra was just this foofy magic. I don't know. But now, like, I appreciate it. And I've actually gone back and, like, not retaken officially linear algebra, but I went back through my old books because I felt it might be applicable. Oh, yeah, I didn't really like probability. It was okay, but, like, it wasn't really my thing. Henhouse says, what kind of coding projects do I work on? Well, yeah, I do have a GitHub link. It's in my bio. I got plenty of fun stuff on there. It's mostly just for my learning and also education and entertainment, I meant, not education. Nothing interesting, really. Just a bunch of stuff. Probably the coolest thing I got on there is, I got two things I think are kind of cool. I have a long-standing web application I built to help me learn different things. Like, I used it to help me learn JavaScript, and then TypeScript, and then Webpack. It's like a little simple game that simulates what you might experience while healing in a MMO. Like if you ever played WoW and you needed to heal your party in a 5-man, that's what it's like. What Linux distro? I have no idea. I don't use Linux. Not really a Linux guy. It never really spoke to me. I never really liked it. Every now and then I'll like get a VM going and throw Ubuntu on there just to see like what it's like. It's fine. But like my whole house is essentially Windows except for the phones. I worked at Microsoft for like almost 14 years, so my brain just thinks in Windows. And like I'm fine with that. Like I don't feel ashamed of that. I'm incredibly productive using Windows. I'm way more productive than I would be if I was using Mac. Is that tool you made publicly available? The one about removing silence from videos, is that what you're talking about? Or like the game? Either, both. Like, yeah, go to my GitHub and just take all the code. I don't care. Dayton says, should I finish my undergrad? I have 4 years of experience with full stack. Not sure if it's worth it. I mean, if you're currently employed and you're making good money and you don't feel like not having a degree is going to inhibit you in any way, yeah, forget it. College is great. In fact, you learn more about life in college than you do like the stuff you learn in classes. Like that's all fine and good, but like going to college is all about experiencing what real life is kind of going to be like once you get out of it. You're going to have roommates, you're going to have bills, you're going to buy your own food, you got to make your own food. Yeah, WSL is great. If you ever need to do Linux stuff, just open up WSL. Yeah, you learn how to learn, that's right. And you continue learning how to learn once you get into the industry. And if you ever feel like you are no longer learning, you need to make a change. Of course I play Boomer 94109. I wouldn't spend $2,000 on a horn just for looks. No, I played for 30 years semi-professionally as well. Yeah. Schleppens. I learned that stuff beforehand. Came back to school at 28 with a newborn. Dude, that is impressive. Not only going back to school at 28, I can only imagine how much anxiety you would have had doing that, but like with the newborn at home too, that's tough. Do you think a master's degree is worth it? Depends on what you mean by worth it. It's worth it like if that's your personal goal to get a master's degree. But if you just mean in the conventional sense, like do I need a master's to get hired? Nope. I've only ever worked with like one other person. Where's my water bottle? You guys see it anywhere? Am I blind? Where did my water bottle go? Oh, there it is. I found it. Yeah, it's right here. I've only worked with one other person who had a PhD. I don't have a PhD, but one person who had a PhD. And we called him Doc. But like, I don't know, he did it for himself. He didn't do it for any other reason. Any experience linking Mongo to React? I don't know what that means, but no. Linking? You mean like making a HTTP web request from a React-based web application to a MongoDB or some middleware that like handles web requests and makes database queries? I do not have experience, no. Dayton says, what pros or cons do you find in people who transition from non-tech fields to technical fields? So the pros generally is that they have a very unique perspective on things, which is kind of both a pro and con, but mostly a pro. Cons are that like sometimes, depending on what their background was initially, it can be less technical. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if you need someone to solve a very technical problem, you're not the person who maybe should be solving it, at least not until they have more experience. But there are lots of non-technical problems that need to be solved in the tech industry. You wouldn't think that, but it's very, very true. Is hardware knowledge important for becoming a good programmer? depending on where you're working in the stack. But for me, not really. Like I'm a front-end engineer, but I also like hardware. I build all my computers and stuff like that. I do lots of research on processors and RAM and stuff like that. But like, no, doesn't matter. Do you think the prestige regarding FANG is accurate? Dayton Baird. Prestige is stupid. Like, there's no prestige. It's just a job. I've worked in essentially FANG my whole career, but like, I'm just some guy. I'm not better than anybody. I'm just some guy on the planet. My time is now to exist in this universe. Nothing matters. Nothing. Schleppin says, connect to Mongo on the server side. Yes. Set up endpoint to serve data, consume data with Axios. Yep. Axios or Fetch. I like them both. I'm just very happy that they exist, because having to do async web request in IE8 using XML HTTP request was not fun. It was a nightmare. In fact, I think I have a video. Someone asked me, how do you make API requests? And I started with good old XML HTTP request, and then I moved up to Fetch, and then I did Axios, and then I did jQuery. Remember good old jQuery? How it ruled the planet for many, many years? It's actually still very powerful. I just hate it with a passion. Sorry if I'm missing some comments. Yeah, if you're thinking about being a software engineer and you feel like you've got what it takes, you should do it. It's a super rewarding career, both like emotionally, it's like personally rewarding to me to build software that millions of people use and enjoy and help them. It's also financially rewarding. I mean, that's no secret. But like the fact that I've personally helped people do their job or like communicate with their friends, it's super rewarding. That also brings a little bit of stress, because like I used to work on products that hundreds of millions of users used, and if I put a semicolon in the wrong place and took the whole site down for whatever reason, I mean that's an exaggerated example, it's stressful, right? Dayton says, what made you want to start creating content on TikTok as an engineer? If you're not following him already, Scott Hanselman, who is program manager, engineer, something or other at Microsoft, he's like a developer advocate. He makes lots of content on YouTube and TikTok and stuff. I just watched a bunch of his videos and I thought, hey, I could do that. Why not? Sounds fun. I'm not doing it for like fame and fortune. I haven't made any money. In fact, I explicitly left the Creator Fund after I realized how offensively low the amount is that you get paid from it. Yeah, just doing it for fun. Hoping I can help spread some awareness about the ins and outs of software engineering, both good and bad, and help y'all win. Sorry if I'm missing comments. Antonio says, I'm starting my first ever junior job on Monday. Dude, that's awesome. Help me gain confidence. Yep. Confidence is important. Jose says, friend, how do you fix a problem? Oh, it scrolled off. I apologize. I'm going to touch my phone and make it wiggle. How do you fix a problem with some emoji? I don't know what that is. Laptop, maybe? I was messing with files and lost admin access. Is that a Mac laptop or a Windows laptop? If it's a Windows laptop, hopefully you have a secondary admin account on there that you can sign in with and help fix the account. If you do not, you can boot into safe mode, into recovery mode, and you can like make changes to the administrator account. As long as you have local access to the machine, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. I'm scrolling. Sorry, you're bouncing around. I apologize. Jenny says, what are your thoughts on boot camps? I have a few thoughts on boot camps. I don't have any firsthand experience, but like, you need to vet them properly. If some rando on TikTok like myself ever were to try to sell you on a boot camp, something that I'll never do, maybe think twice about going to that boot camp. Pennywise, I have 8 years experience for a startup, but feel like I'm missing out not working at scale. That's a valid worry. If you feel like you're stagnating in your career, or your manager like is either unable or unwilling to help you move up in your career progression, or you've identified that there's no business need for anyone beyond your level, and you're just sitting there making 1% raises every year, yeah, you should think about going somewhere else. Young X Stunner says, yeah, it's just definitely stressful. Your nightmare is creating some kind of outage. Well, first of all, realize that it's going to happen. You're going to do something and it's going to break something. Maybe it's not the end of the world when it happens, but it's going to happen. And you just need to accept that fact. And once you get it out of the way, and I'm not implying that you should intentionally cause an outage or intentionally ship a bug, but it's going to happen for whatever reason. The only thing you can really do is try to identify what it is you can do to prevent it from happening. So when it does happen, it's on you to like say, yep, it happened, but it's not necessarily your fault, because sometimes there are processes that should have been in place that were not in place. Like, what if there should have been a test that covered the scenario that maybe wouldn't have been tested by your team? It's owned by some other team, and they didn't, for whatever reason, you broke some scenario you didn't even know existed, and then like no test existed from the team that actually owns that scenario. So like it broke, but you had no idea it even existed. So like you do an RCA or root cause analysis, and you would say, hey, like this test didn't exist. I'm sorry it happened, but like it did. So we need to add a test there to add coverage. That's a very simplified example of a root cause analysis. Do I have a GitHub? Yep, check my link tree. I got a link there. I got a whole bunch of projects and stuff, pretty fun stuff over the past 10 years maybe. Jenny says, how are your experiences working with engineers that have gone to boot camps compared to CS degrees? Many times, I don't even know. Because like, I only interview a very small subset of the people that I work with. So I have no idea whether they've gone to boot camps, but I'm assuming some percentage of them are, maybe 10%. I don't even know the difference. It's 12:50. I think I'm going to go until 1:30, so 40 more minutes. Last time I did a 5-hour live stream all the way till 2 a.m. and I could not sleep because my brain was stuck in like live stream mode. Hey Malibu, I really appreciate all the engagement you've given me over the past 6 months. Is that your Lambo, or was that just like a rental? Because if it's your Lambo, you owe me a ride. Boomer says, it's your car? That's awesome. You should make more content about your Lambo. I thought about buying a Lambo, but like, it's just like, even though I could technically afford it, like, nah, that's okay. Boomer, thoughts on hitting upper bounds of competency, calling in software and ceiling in software engineer. I'm a big fan of like T-shaped knowledge, meaning like go deep but also go broad, but don't go so deep that your knowledge is a straight up and down line like an I. Sure, it's great, especially if you're in a specialized area, but like in general software engineering, don't hit the upper bound of competency. It can help, but I don't think it's worth your time. Schleppens, get this. The other junior at my work was born in 2000. I graduated high school in 2000. And a 23-year-old who's a junior is doing just fine. Malibu, you only live once. Taste your pleasures and let yourself enjoy life. I know. Don't get me wrong. I purchased expensive vehicles, fast vehicles. Ones that I would be very happy owning a Honda Civic, but like I did splurge a little bit. I have an Audi S4 and an Audi Q7. What's not worth your time? Sorry to repeat. It's not worth your time, I think, to reach the ceilings of knowledge in a certain tech stack. To know absolutely everything there is to know about a certain language. Unless you're doing very specialized work. Henna House says, thoughts on moving from systems engineer to SWE? I don't know. I mean, no different really from any other change. A lot of your experience is going to transfer, especially if you're using a language that you can do systems engineering also and software engineering, like C or something, C++. Malibu says, I graduated in 86. Oof. Okay, I thought I was old. I was born in 82. I was 4 years old when you graduated. Boomer, I meant more about feeling like you're not getting better. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. If you're not getting better, yeah, I've been there. Like for a while there, I thought I wasn't getting better at C++. And then I realized that that was true. So I had to take steps explicitly to try to position myself so that I didn't have to write C++. And it's not that I really was giving up on it. It's like I felt like my career progression would go much faster if I focused on areas where like I enjoyed working in and I enjoyed learning more about. And I didn't enjoy learning C++ and getting better at C++. So Harris yells, what do you think about automation testing, quality assurance? So the first 7 years of my career, from 2007 to 2014, I was a software design engineer and test at Microsoft and SDET. So there's a special place in my heart for QA, automated testing, functional testing, unit testing, localizability testing, globalizability testing, security testing, stress testing, all these. Yes, hell yes, very important. Can't ship any kind of software reliably with any confidence whatsoever without a solid testing strategy. Henhouse, take it easy. Hope you have a good one. Tunnel, it's okay. I don't understand anything either. The words that are coming out of my mouth, like, I don't even know what I'm saying. TikTok girl vibe. I got an offer double a job for another tech support job. So that scrolled away quickly, but I'm assuming that means you got a great offer. Awesome. Malibu, I never enjoyed development, but love platform engineering. Yeah, I play favorites too. Like, I don't like doing back-end engineering much. I like doing front-end engineering, so I try to position myself so I can do that kind of stuff. Harris says, do you think it's a good starting point to get into the tech industry? Of course. Pennywise, do you still spend a lot of time writing code, or are you more focused on software architecture or planning? I don't code as much anymore. I used to code maybe 4 to 6 hours a day as more junior or mid-tier. But as principal, I'm more about helping the more junior members of my team know what code they actually need to write and what projects the team should be investing in. Because like working on the wrong thing is super expensive. So it's worth it to the company to have people at my level who have seen a lot of things that have happened to say, hey, like we should be focusing on this and not this right now, because it's better return on investment if we do that. And it's hard to do that if you're just a junior dev because you haven't seen too much. VJ Group says, how do you manage the equity you get from companies? How do I manage it? So by equity, I'm assuming you mean like money. How do I manage it? I don't manage much of my money. Some of it I do. I have some discretionary money that I can invest and some cash laying around. But a lot of it is just handled by a financial advisor who I trust. J.R.E. Kuhn says, what makes a good versus bad code review? So I like to give very in-depth code reviews. I don't like when I submit a code review and people go, looks good to me. Because like, sure, maybe it means they trust that I know what I'm doing, but I don't trust that I know what I'm doing, because like the only way I can think is like using my one brain that I have. But like I've said it many times, software is a team sport, and like when I submit a code review, I want people to think about the code that I've written and make sure that I'm not doing something stupid that my dumb monkey brain didn't warn me about. Because you know, everyone knows something that you don't, so like someone always has some information that you can learn from them. In code reviews, yeah, I like to give in-depth code reviews and try not to nitpick too much, because nobody likes a nitpicker. And anyway, nitpicks should generally be handled by tools. Like say you missed a semicolon, or rather you put too many spaces on a line, assuming you're not writing Python, or you put a space at the end of a line and it shouldn't be there. Why is your tooling not fixing these kind of nitpicky mistakes in the first place? How do you keep in touch with new coding methods, libraries, etc. when you don't code that much? I watch TikTok and YouTube and Twitter. Twitter is great for learning about new things. Social media is where it's at. The Real says, I love what you just said, having a hard time giving up coding and my boss wants me consulting. Yeah, do what you like, and your job, or your manager's job, is to help you find the opportunities that are going to help you grow in your career the fastest, and also the things that you enjoy doing. If they're giving you things you don't enjoy doing and giving other members on your team things that they don't enjoy doing, but you would have enjoyed working on whatever they're working on, and they would have enjoyed whatever it is you're working on, your manager's doing it wrong. So this is the part of the live where I say, do not double tap the screen right now. Just don't do it. I really would appreciate it if you would not do that. Real JBT says, if you are asked to build a simple web app, what are the best coding frameworks you would suggest? A simple web app to get up and going real quick. Create React app is fine. Sorry, I'm gonna jiggle you guys around a sec. I forgot to plug my phone in and it's dying. Don't mind me. Yeah, React is good. And then like getting it deployed. I've been a pretty big fan of Heroku lately, although they got rid of their free tier, which is unfortunate. There are plenty of other places that you can do free deployments to. How long have I been a software engineer? Well, I started out in 2007 at Microsoft as a software design engineer in test. I don't know if that counts. But then in 2014, Microsoft killed off the role. I became a real dev, if you want to call that a real dev. So since 2007, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. I don't know why. It's not like I'm collecting followers. Follow me. No. It's just fun seeing that number go up. Because bigger numbers tell my brain to release the happy chemicals. Young Stunner says, have you experienced any bad physical effects from a desk job? Yeah. My eyes aren't what they used to be. My font size is generally at least 18 point now. It used to be 10 or even 11, but now it's about 18. It doesn't help that I have to share my screen all the time over like remote sessions, so it makes sense that I need to have it big. But so now I just always leave it big. My back hurts a little bit, but I have a nice chair, which helps. This is a Herman Miller Embody. User 3434651 says, how many hours and days did you typically work? I generally work 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Every now and then I'll take a day off. I'm not very good about taking days off, but I work anywhere between 30 and 50 hours a week. I get my shit done though. Am I allowed to swear on TikTok Live? I have no idea what the rules are. Hopefully I don't get banned. Yep. One secret about the software industry is like no one generally, at least in FANG companies, no one's like monitoring your hours, not even your manager. As long as you get your stuff done, doesn't really matter the hours that you work, as long as you're not skipping out on important meetings like sprint review or whatever. Is Embody worth it? Was thinking about buying it. I don't know, like, it's a nice chair. Here, maybe I can get it in frame. Let me turn the light on. Ugh. So like, it's heavy as hell. Like, here it is. It's a beautiful chair, right? It's quite comfortable. It's a little hard. So like, if you got a bony butt like myself, you can maybe get a pad. But yeah, it's pretty nice. My PTO is that bullshit called unlimited PTO. Best way to learn JavaScript. The MDN docs, the Mozilla Developer Network docs, are fantastic. They're better than W3 schools, in my opinion. Let's stay there. Repetition, just like any other thing. Do it for 1,000 hours and you'll get good at it. Malibu says, when I was at Nordstrom as the TPM for the NOC, I don't know what that means, I worked 30 weekends in 2022. That sucks. I'm sorry. As someone who's married to an accountant who is currently in their busy season, I understand the whole working on the weekends thing. VJ Group says, what are your thoughts on companies requiring return to office? As someone who works at a company who is toying with the idea of getting folks back in the office 10 days a quarter, maybe about once a week. I think 10 days a quarter, once a week, is almost reasonable. I'm a huge fan of working from home. I absolutely love it, especially because my commute is about 45 minutes each way, including toll bridges. I can be very productive at home, and I'm more confident at home. But I understand the benefit of being in a collaborative environment. In fact, I went into the office this past Wednesday, and there were a few moments, even though we were in open space, like we were able to like get stuff done faster and like discuss a certain thing very, very quickly that would have been like pulling teeth doing remotely. So I love working from home. I've been doing it since March 10th or March 12th, 2020. What's your opinion on solid principle? I don't know. Probably good. Jerry Kuhn says, I went from 100% in office to 100% remote. I think letting people in team choose is best. Yeah, so it's all about making a working agreement with your team. If a manager were to say, you are all now required to come in twice a week, like, who are you, a dictator? Like, you're a manager. I don't even consider you my boss. You're my peer. How about we talk about this thing? There's this funny thing called collaboration. We talk about it as a team and say, hey, I think it makes sense for us to come in on days where we do sprint review and sprint planning. And then the rest of the week, we can all go home unless we have some kind of other big meeting, like a all hands meeting or something like that. Now, like, it's all dependent on your current, like, risk aversion. Like, sure, the pandemic is still kind of a thing. And if you're immunocompromised or something like that, maybe you can stay home. But if you're not terribly worried about it, yeah, come on in. Meshart says, did they ask you for your portfolio when you applied for senior dev? No, they didn't ask for it. And just on my resume, like, I put a lot of my portfolio on there, not for things that they could go and look up, but I just said, like, what it is I worked on at Microsoft and what are the challenges I had and what are the things I solved and how I worked on a team. I also put a link to my GitHub and said, hey, if you want to see how I write code, go here. What should junior SWE portfolios look like? So if you are fresh out of school, the only thing I really look for are like what classes you took, but more importantly, what did you do as part of like your senior project? And most importantly, how you did anything in any kind of team environment. Maybe you did some kind of collaborative group project where you had to build something like somewhat broad, like you had to build up a database and you had to build up some kind of like middle tier and maybe a web application, but you had to split up this work somehow. Like not just one person handled it all. I want to know how you did that and like what challenges you had while working in a team environment. The Real says, best way to learn safe agile. I don't know what safe agile is. I mean, I somewhat know what agile is, although I didn't really do too much agile in its normal sense at Microsoft. I do it a little bit more at my current job. I'm not a huge fan of it. You know what I am a huge fan of is getting work done. And sometimes I feel like agile gets in the way. It's 1:06 right now. I'm going to go for another 25 minutes or so. Like, I don't have a hard time limit on this thing, but I was thinking of going to bed around 1:30. Someone with a bunch of random characters says, should I focus more on my portfolio or internship? If you had to pick one, which would it be? Well, if you can get an internship, then as long as you show up, there's a very good chance that you're going to succeed in your internship and get a full-time offer after that. So I would probably focus on doing that. There's a link to my GitHub in my bio on my Linktree. My GitHub username is onSubmit, like you're submitting a form, onSubmit. And Malibu says, one of the things I look for is how junior devs document projects, how they're approached and solutions. Yep. Documentation is incredibly important. It doesn't seem like it might be, but it is, because many times when you're working on a project, it's only temporarily for many reasons, one of which is like you could leave the company. And like if you didn't document what it is you built and how to maintain it or what it actually does, then whoever it is that's going to have to maintain it in the future is going to have a real hard time. Boomer says, how political, if at all, has your job become as you got higher? Political? There are some politics, and I've said this before. Software engineering in a corporate environment is kind of like a little game you have to play. And by that is, you have, depending on like who you are and how vocal you are and how quote unquote important you are, like people are going to listen to you or not listen to you. The other part of the game is like, as you're moving up in your career, you need to be visible to those above you and leadership team. So if nobody knows who you are, nobody knows what you built, and nobody knows what kind of value you've brought to the company, when it comes time to make a decision on whether or not you get a raise or a bonus or a promotion, they're just going to have more questions, and they're going to be like, no, I don't know this person. We're not giving them a raise. HFH says, what's the best way to find a mentor if you need one? Your organization at your company would ideally have a some kind of program, and it doesn't even need to be that fancy. It could be something as simple as an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Doc or something like that, that lists everyone's name who are either hiring, like they want to be a mentor, and they can say like what team they're on and what their specialties are and what level they are. And then another spreadsheet for a sign-up sheet. Like if you're a junior engineer and you want a mentor, you go to this thing and you say, oh yeah, I'm gonna go reach out to that person, assuming they're hiring, they're looking to mentor someone. And then, you just play telephone. You reach out to them, hey, you wanna be my mentor? And then your company as a whole should have some kind of mentoring strategy or motivation for people to become mentors or become mentees. Malibu says, as a TPM, I much more enjoyed partnering with principals over EMs or directors. Yeah, principals are ICs, and they are down in the trenches with the more junior engineers, but also they come out sometimes and speak to the generals. TikTok just said, great job. You've been live for 90 minutes. Don't forget to take a break. I'm fine, TikTok. Don't worry about me. Jerry KUN says, have you worked in smaller companies before or mostly big tech? Big tech, always. It is a trombone. Miss Ing. So we talked about it a bit earlier, but that is a 1968 King 3B Silver Sonic. I love it. And I got a few more spread throughout the room. This is kind of my like combination home office gaming music room. Young X Stunner says, do you recommend job hopping every 1 to 2 years early in your career? I do not recommend that. Maybe 3 or 4 years, but not 1 to 2 years. How are the hardware design jobs in big tech? I don't know. Never worked on hardware. What do you do for static and dynamic code analysis? We have plenty of tools where I work, although I don't work too much in some of the stacks that we work on. We have like a giant monolith. I don't work there too much. But like static analysis tools, I'm working in TypeScript, so we use things like ESLint and Prettier, and if you're not using them when you're writing JavaScript or TypeScript, you're making your life much harder than it has to be. One other thing I should mention about these static analysis tools for TypeScript in particular is that the set of rules that you use need to be agreed upon and discussed by your team. Like if there's some people on your team who strongly feel like you should or should not use a specific ESLint rule, you need to talk about it. And like they need to say, hey, I don't think we should use this. If we do this, like it's going to make writing this specific part of our code base really difficult. So you have a working agreement with your team on what rules you have. Your beard and hair are awesome. Thank you, Gabe Brown. I grew them all myself, and they're real. Thanks for the follow, Boomer. Now, is that like Boomer as in age or Boomer as in, what's that zombie game? What is that zombie game? Made by Valve. Why can't I think of it? Where there are boomers. I gotta check my Steam library. Unless one of you guys can comment really quickly. Why is that name escaping me? I played it for many, many years. Same age as me. Left 4 Dead, thank you. Yeah, I'm not a boomer. I'm like a Xennial. You guys heard of Xennials? I'm in this weird like micro generation. I was born in '82. Between Gen X and Millennial. Have I played the new Hogwarts game? I have not. I'm not ashamed to say that I have never read any books or watched any of the movies, nor played any of the games. I was too busy playing video games when all that stuff happened. Yeah, Left 4 Dead. Actually, I really liked Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. I used to play it on hard mode, and what I mean by hard mode is I would start the game, and you have the 3 other AI characters that are with you. But then I'd open up the console in the game and boot them. So it was just me. One person handling all the zombies and hordes. It was fantastic. I don't play WoW anymore. I played it for a long time. I was in one of the like top 10 US rating guilds on Cenarius. And I loved it. It was super fun. But then I realized that World of Warcraft is designed to be incredibly addictive, and I was super addicted to it, so I quit. What up, Hidden Temptation? Speaking of addiction, so is TikTok, so is Facebook, so is Twitter. They are engineered to be as addictive as possible. So if you're spending hours and hours and hours on it, be aware of this fact. I quit WoW in, I don't even remember now. I quit after the Lich King. Beating Lich King on hard mode is one of the greatest moments of my life. Maybe after getting married. How has working as a software engineer improved my life? So, I mean, ignoring the fact that I'm very comfortable, it's taught me how to like solve any problem ever. If a problem comes my way, I can solve it because I've learned how to solve problems. Boomer says, I spent 6 hours today writing TypeScript changeless CLs and honestly didn't hate it. Jasmine testing is nice. Yeah, Jasmine's nice. I also like Jest. I also like, if you need functional UI testing, I like Cypress and Playwright. I do play the trombone. Not on TikTok, although I have one video where I play the trombone because somebody explicitly asked me to play the trombone. Any advice for new software engineers? Yes. Understand that nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's just making it up as they go along. You don't need to be scared of the senior engineers. They are literally there to help you. And if you have good reason to think that they are like sabotaging you or getting angry when you ask them questions, then this is a problem, and they shouldn't be doing that. And it's your manager's job to like talk to them. So you need to like inform them that you're having a problem. Also, learn to listen and also check your ego at the door. Some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. Now, who's making weird comments? Why would you do such a thing? That's not very nice. Oh yeah, one other tip for junior software engineers and any other software engineer, or even anybody who's not a software engineer, is be nice. Be nice always. What moment did it become clear that you'll make it as a software engineer? When my manager did not let me fail. I'll share a story. I was maybe, 3 to 6 months in as a junior engineer, and like I started feeling a little bit more comfortable with things, but at one point, very, very common for something that another member on your team owned, like say a whole web page, like one page of your web application. It got transferred to me. I was now the proud owner of this new subset of the web application, and it's mine now. And then like that other person went on vacation for like 3 weeks. So now it's mine. And then all these questions came in from PMs and external partners and stuff about how this page is supposed to work and like why it's doing this thing. And I was expected to provide answers. And I had no idea, absolutely no idea. And I got really, really overwhelmed, especially because some of the questions were coming from, people who had been at the company for a decade. So I was like freaking out. And it really overwhelmed me. And so I told my manager, hey, like, I don't think I can do this. And he said, nope, I'm not going to let you quit. I'm not going to just let you quit like that. I'm not going to give up on you. So he helped me. And that's his job. His job is to help me succeed. And I really appreciate it. And Nate, if you're watching right now, thanks. Do you like your Scrum Master? Well, my Scrum Master is my manager. We don't have like a Scrum Master. So yeah, I like him. Have I ever dropped a production DB? No, but I've had a few doozies. I've had some live sites that were bad. And I've said this once, I'll say it again. If you're a software engineer, you're going to break something. And you're probably going to break something bad. And once you get it out of the way, the likelihood that you do it again are much lower. Soli, yes, I did say I was logging off in 3 minutes later 2 hours ago. I logged off. But now I'm back! Because everybody went to bed, and so I can stay up late. I'm glad you're back, though. Surprise! Can't believe 43 of you are all up this late on Friday night watching some old fart talk about software. JR says, I wish there were more managers like that. My first manager in tech made me feel terrible. Yeah. There are toxic work environments, and unfortunately it's sometimes hard to identify them during interviews. Can we hear you play the tuba? Well, if I had a tuba, maybe. That's just a trombone. Tuba's that big thing, the big bell and all the valves and stuff. I don't have a tuba, but I'm not going to play trombone on live. Sorry. Yes. Okay, Boomer. Yes, we're old farts. I'm 40, almost 41. I'm super old. Buy a tuba. They're expensive. Like, I've played a tuba and I played a sousaphone, but yeah, they're really expensive. And they're huge. Like, where am I going to put this thing? They're enormous. Have I ever dealt with imposter syndrome? The better question is when am I not dealing with imposter syndrome? So if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's just this phenomenon where your brain, for whatever reason, tries to convince you that you're a fraud and you don't belong and you don't deserve the success that you've had, even though you're a seasoned software engineer and like you've shipped software successfully for many, many years, bug-free software, and like you've gotten promotions and raises and all sorts of stuff, but your brain is like, you don't deserve it. You're an idiot. What are you even doing here? No, just realize that your brain is lying to you, and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense why the brain that is inside your body would try to actively sabotage you like this, but it's true, and it's very common in the software industry, myself included. I really appreciate these questions because one of the only ways I've found that helped me mitigate the symptoms of imposter syndrome is to just talk about it, even if it's to y'all who are effectively strangers, but also like to other people who might be experiencing the symptoms of imposter syndrome, like my coworkers. As long as you know what it is and that it's a real thing, then you're just aware of it and the symptoms aren't as bad. Yep. Young Exterminator, I hope you have a great night. Appreciate it. Solely had no one hater. It's trying to temper your expectations so if you fall, it's not from that high up. Sorry if I missed some context on that comment. JRE Coon 1 says, I've been seeing a therapist to help with imposter syndrome and other stuff. Yep. Therapy, there's no shame in going to therapy. Therapists are very intelligent people. They've been trained for many, many years on how to talk to you in a way that convinces your brain to not be a piece of crap and actively try to sabotage you. Chance the Rapper just tagged himself. Okay, welcome. Luke Aragioni says, hey, AI, machine learning engineer here. What are your thoughts on AI? I think it's super exciting, and I'm not terribly concerned that it's going to like replace me or replace software engineers. I do think it's going to become like a great tool for software engineers to use to be more productive. Unfortunately, what comes along with increased productivity generally is just more work because you can do more work in less time. I personally use GitHub Copilot a little bit, but I don't use it as a tool to help me figure out what code I need to write. I use it as a tool to help me confirm the code that I already was in the process of writing. Chance, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to skip your comments. They're coming in very fast. Was in the process of writing. Chance, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to skip your comments. They're coming in very fast. Was in the process of writing. Chance, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to skip your comments. They're coming in very fast. On my other things. Yeah. R. Doubler says, when you were junior, any performance review help you grow? Yeah. If you're not learning something in a performance review with critical feedback to help you grow, then it's not a good performance review. I mean, sure, it feels good to get positive feedback, but like, I want negative feedback. I don't care about positive feedback. Great. It boosts my ego. It makes me feel good. I don't care about that stuff. I want to know how I can get better. Because that's what really makes me feel good, is getting better at something I used to be bad at. In particular, comments about going and learning more deeply about a certain topic at work, not necessarily like a programming language, but like a certain feature set that either didn't have anybody else in the entire company that knew much about it. So like my manager said, hey, like it would be great if you could be the subject matter expert on this thing because nobody else is. So if you did that, it would be great. Because then we could like easily augment that functionality or like fix bugs or extend it or maintain it, whatever. It's not a Getson, it's a King 3B. Jumping rope ghost. Patrick Youssef says, what matters more for growth, next job, better company, or good role fit? I don't know. I would probably say good role fit, because like, no, it's like a combination of both. Like many things in life, it really depends. If we're only talking about FANG companies, doesn't really matter. Then it's probably just good role fit. But if we're talking about startups or like government jobs, or private sector, that kind of stuff, it really gets complicated. Depression Impressor says, what is the most important thing to learn? I know a lot of languages, but I still feel lost. Early on in your career, I think it makes more sense to focus on like a single tech stack, a single language even, and go real deep on it and just learn how that language works. Because like there are a million different languages, all of which are not that different from one another. They all effectively do the same thing. They tell a computer what to do. And many times the syntaxes aren't even really all that different. So get good at one and you'll be okay at all of them. Bandwidth says, hey, where is Ice Spice? She said I can talk to her. I don't know what the heck that means. Hopefully it's not some kind of like dog whistle that's going to get me banned by saying some combination of those words. So whatever. R Doubler, what's a tool that impresses you? GitHub Copilot impresses me. Bing Chat impresses me. ChatGPT kind of impresses me. Operating systems in general impress me. Like any operating system, any major operating system, it just amazes me that like this magic box exists in front of me that allows me to like communicate with anyone all over the world in real time. I also like, there's a great tool on Windows called Screen2GIF. It's effectively a screen recorder, but it's very full-featured and free. That allows you to just record your screen and like do all sorts of cool editing and stuff, and then you got a GIF of your screen. It's great. I use it all the time. Bing versus ChatGPT, I don't know. I've only used ChatGPT like once, and I've used Bing Chat, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. They're all right. They help me distill a ton of like information that's all spread all over the internet down into a single little text box, so that helps. Also, Bing, Google, whatever, they're effectively the same to me. They're just a tool that like gives me search results, and they both work great. What's your thoughts on open source as a sustainable thing? Yeah, open source is great. I wish open source maintainers were better compensated for their work, especially for the types of things that are used all over the planet, especially by large tech companies. We could talk about Log4j. Like, had the maintainers of that logging tool like been paid to maintain it properly, they probably could have prevented the whole Log4j nonsense that happened last year. Is it bad to copy code if you modify it to your own need? Kind of depends. I mean, if it's like proprietary code that has like license and it's like owned by a certain company or something like that, then like maybe think about it. But if it's just like random snippet that you find on Stack Overflow, yeah, go nuts. B10 Renaud says, I'm in cybersecurity and Log4j was a nightmare. Yep. It was a nightmare at my company as well. We had, in our core product, we were susceptible to the vulnerability. We had to update everything. And every past version too. Maintenance branches and releases, server. It was a nightmare. We had whole teams spun up just to address and identify all the affected packages and products because of it. Yay, Java. Yeah, Log4j is always a nightmare. And there's going to be another one, right? There's always going to be another Log4j. It's just a matter of time before it happens. User Link Raphael says, is it normal to learn Swift in 2023? I have no idea. I've never used Swift. I don't even really know what Swift is. R Doubler says, what differentiates a junior from senior? When do you know a junior is ready to level up? Yeah, I've answered this question many times, even in this live, but it's really a matter of scope and already operating at the senior level, or not entirely, but like check several of the boxes on what seniors are actively doing, and your manager should be able to provide you with this list of what seniors are mostly required to do. And as long as you're already doing a decent amount of them, then and there's a business need for a senior engineer, then your promotion should go through. Most of it is just sad. Says, did you study CS in university? I did for 1 year. I started out as a CS student, took C and C++. I loved them, but then the third semester, I took computer engineering, or maybe it was even the second semester, computer engineering, and I didn't really like it because it was more focused on hardware. And even though I do love hardware, for whatever reason, the course didn't really speak to me. So I dropped out of the program and I switched over to the math program instead. Jesse in it says, what are some unspoken expectations for a senior engineer at a new job? Your job as a senior engineer, a brand new senior engineer, is to reach out to every single person on your team, especially the more senior ones, and ask them questions about what it is the team builds and why, especially why is the team building it, and get an idea of what their operating procedure is. And then at the end of the meeting, you should say, hey, who else do you think I should talk to about this kind of stuff? Get a list of people from it, and then go talk to those people, and then repeat the conversation until you've exhausted your tree, and so you can get a better understanding of how things work at the company, and you also build your network that way. Is it okay to use Python in 2023? Yep. As a beginner, yes. Are you the Jesus Christian of coding? No. I might look like him, assuming Jesus was a white guy with a big white beard, but I don't think that was the case. Boomer says, I read discussion of open source maintainers holding ransom demands for big tech, scary stuff. Yeah, it's super scary. That's why cybersecurity is really important and always will be. Most of it says, when you were in uni, how did you balance schoolwork and coding, personal projects, and social life? I had no personal coding projects. The only thing I cared about in university was my math courses and being in the marching band. Did I ever play D&D? No, but my roommates did. All day Saturday, they completely bogarted the living room. Patrick says, what's a typical progression time through titles? Generally 1 to 3 years for each. It gets a little bit longer as you get higher up. But early on, 1 to 3 years. Best code editor, whichever one you like. They're just code editors at the end of the day. I like VS Code because I write TypeScript. And it's great. If I just need a simple little notepad or something, I'll use Notepad++. Or if I'm writing C# or C++, I'll use Visual Studio. Or if I'm writing Java, I'll use IntelliJ. I said I was going to stop at 1:30, but screw it. We're going to keep going. Sean says, if you were hiring an entry-level engineer, do you have preferred education credentials you like to see? No. If you were a liberal arts major or a English major or something like that, I would have additional questions for you. But that's it. Most of it says, what about now? How do you balance work and personal life? I used to work a lot. When I was at Microsoft, I never stopped working. I had Teams and I had email on my phone. And now at my new job, I made a promise to myself, no work on my phone ever. So when I log off after 6 p.m. or whatever, I'm done. Usually. Every now and then I'll take a peek at my calendar just so I know what time my earliest meeting is, to know what time I have to get up in the morning. But for the most part, I'm done. Someone says, been getting to on-sites but not getting offers, ideas of what I might be doing wrong. Ask the recruiter. How much corporate BS gets in the way of actually doing your job? A lot, especially if you work in big tech, some of the major ones like myself. Corporate BS gets in the way a lot. What did my resume look like starting out during your first year? I had a little bit of experience building websites. I need a drink, 1 sec. Yeah, before I started working at Microsoft, I worked at the university, or the Washington State University publishing department, making websites for internal areas at the university programs. So I had a little bit of experience. I had some leadership experience in the music program. I was the section leaders for some large groups, so that helped. Also, it also helped that I had a lot of experience in math, and my senior project was writing an application that solved Minesweeper. I wrote a program that, given a Minesweeper game, could solve it. Does this glorious beard come when you ascend from senior to principal? It does. Just magically appears. Most of it says, when hiring, what's more important, personal projects or certs? I would say personal projects, maybe? And I've been talking for like 3 hours. Apologies for the cough. What software do I work on? Without going into too many details, my team at work, we build a JavaScript API for customers that allow them to like integrate their own web applications with our core product. You should be a mentor. Shaking my head. I am a mentor. I'm mentoring you all right now. I'm a mentor at work too. You know COBOL? No, I don't know COBOL. I know Fortran. Well, I knew Fortran, or at least I was learning it a little bit about 20 years ago. But no COBOL. I think someone left a comment on one of my videos asking me to make a video about COBOL. Just haven't gotten around to it yet. What is the core product I provide? You can scroll down my videos. I'll talk about that a little bit. Minesweeper sometimes toward the end of the game comes down to chance. Yep. No. What it would do essentially was at any given a board in any state, it would calculate exactly what the probability was for a mine on any square on the entire board. And if it ever was 50-50 and it couldn't make a choice, it knew that going into it, so it would randomly choose at that point. Was I self-taught? Yeah, for the most part. OpenJ92 says, what am I up to? I'm staying up too late talking to y'all on this magic rectangle that's in front of me. It's 1:37 here in the greater Seattle area. HFH says, what did you use to make your senior project and how much did you know going into it? What did I use to make? I wrote my senior project to solve Minesweeper in MATLAB. How many times have I seen hackers? 0. R Doubler says, what are some certs worth pursuing? I have no idea. I don't even know how much value a cert holds, actually. It's like anybody can say, like, here's a cert. Sorry, I don't know. You think Alexa is always listening? I mean, to some extent, but no, it's not listening to you talk on the phone, unless you say her name. Where do you get project ideas? Generally, whenever I work on a personal project, it's to solve some kind of problem that I have. Case in point, recently, I was trying to edit a screen recording I had made for a TikTok video, but like the screen recording was, I don't even know, 8 minutes long, and I had left some key pieces in it silent. Like while I'm waiting for something to happen on the screen, I'll just shut up, won't say anything, and then in the editor, I'll cut that part out so you guys don't have to see me not saying anything. But like my video editor, for whatever reason, as I was doing that, decided to eat up all 64 gigabytes of my RAM. So it slowed to a complete crawl, and like the RAM was paging like crazy. So I said, this is a problem. I should be able to automate this using something simple. So I figured out how to do that. And my recent video, I talk about like how I wrote a small tool that's a wrapper on the FFmpeg tool that removes silence from videos that you give it. You never watched the movie Hackers, super sus. I'm sorry. I'll go watch it. I'll add it to my watch list right now. I'm not kidding. I'll go watch it. How was your experience learning JavaScript for the first time? It was madness. Because like I didn't have too much experience with JavaScript, just a little bit, but not in any like professional environment. So it took me a long time to understand like object-oriented programming in JavaScript is not really a thing. Like sure you can kind of do it using prototypes, but and now that they have classes, which is nice. But when I was learning JavaScript, they didn't have classes, and there was no TypeScript either. So yeah, it was kind of a nightmare. It took me a long time to figure it out. How do you like Seattle? Might move there? I've lived in Washington State my entire life. I was born in Seattle. I love it here. It's fantastic. The weather kind of sucks sometimes, but the summers are nice. How are 40 of you still online and watching me? It's crazy. What front-end framework do you use? Well, I use React, usually, at least at work. Like many of the components and dependencies that we build internally are using React, so it only makes sense to use React. If I were to do a personal project, I might consider using React, but like if I'm using React at work, I would choose something else at home so I can learn something new. I would probably use Svelte or Vue, probably. What are some good websites to learn how to code? I don't know. Rains too much, not like SoCal. No rain here for 9 months. Yeah, it rains all the time here. You just get used to it. What do I think of Rust? I've made one video where I've written some Rust. It gave me huge vibes on C++. I don't like C++. Rust seemed slightly better than C++, so thumbs up for me. Any thoughts on Angular? No, not really. I've never used Angular. I'm sure it's fine. Have I worked on mobile development? Not really. I've written one mobile app, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago. In Objective-C, I wrote a little test framework that I could run on an iPhone simulator that would allow us to essentially execute test cases on our web application and like periodically take screenshots of the page, and we would change the page to be rendered in different languages because I wanted to see what the page looked like on iOS in other languages. And this was before we had online tools that would do this for us, like BrowserStack. Centrosity says, how would you transition from making a living as an entrepreneurial full stack engineer to a day job? I mean, you would use your full stack engineer experience as a stepping stone, put it on your resume. It's a perfectly valid experience to put on a resume. And just go interview like everybody else. And ideally get a referral from a friend. When do you think hiring pans will get better? 12 months. Most of it. How do you adapt to new languages and frameworks over the years? So 2 ways. I generally don't try to get a head start. I usually, if I have a need to learn a new language, then I will, for the most part. But I try not to learn it on the job. I try to, I'll take time at home to learn a new language by building something fun with it. Because I don't want to learn it unless I'm having fun at the same time. So if I have to learn a new tech stack or something fun, I'll go home and either like rewrite a personal project that I already had done in some other language in this new language that I'm trying to learn. Because then I'm already familiar with the problem I'm trying to solve. Now I just need to do it in a different way. What do you use to automate QA? So my team at work, we build JavaScript, API, and web application as well. So we use Jest to do our unit tests, and we use Cypress to do our functional tests. What made you pursue sharing all your experience here? Why not? It's fun. It feels good. It feels good to share. It feels good to talk. It's not for financial gain or fame or fortune. It's not like TikTok pays me any money, anything worthwhile. Not any amount of money that I ever cash out on, because I don't want to have to deal with the hassle of paying taxes on it. I think I made 7 cents the last time I went live. So yeah, paid for the electricity maybe to charge my phone while going live. What's the best type of coding boot camp for beginners? I have no idea. I'm sorry. A boot camp that you've fully vetted, and it's not just some rando on the internet telling you to buy their boot camp. Ferdus Norzai says, I have a CS degree and I skipped DSA while I was studying. I don't know what DSA is, but now I'm a React dev. I still forget? ? Let's talk about acronyms. So this was an example. DSA was an acronym. I didn't know what it was. And that's, I'm no shade on the person who used that acronym. Like in the tech industry, there's acronyms all over the place, right? And I try to make it a point to, if I ever feel the need to make, or to use an acronym, I look at my audience and say, hey, is everyone in this room going to know what that acronym means? And if they don't, I won't use that acronym. Or I'll use it, but then immediately define it. Because the last thing I want someone to feel is like they're a fraud or dumb because they don't know what an acronym is, just because they never heard it before. Hey, thanks for the gifts. Caribbean Toast, I appreciate it. I feel Enriched. Data structure and algorithm. Oh, I've never heard that acronym before. OpenJ92 says, what? How? Aloha for days. Hello. Hope you're having a good night, morning. I don't know where you're from. It's 1:46 a.m. here. Yep. OS, on the topic of acronyms. Yes. HFH says, you should start your lives off with LeetCode problems. It would be cool to see your process. Oh, your lives off. Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's kind of fun to do LeetCodes sometime. It would be embarrassing. Like, I'm sure I could kind of do them, but like nobody needs to see me write code live. It's 11:46 here on Maui. Nice. Well, happy Friday. What kind of QA do you run for the APIs you develop? Well, we do unit tests by mocking out any like external endpoints. By external, they're actually internal, but they're external to my team, so we mock those out. And then for functional testing, the APIs actually they're meant to be used in part of a web application. So the web application will consume the API and then make these API calls from the web application, which ultimately result in some kind of like something that a user could see. There's a response, and that results in some user experience change. So that implies we have some functional testing, UI testing that we have to do. We use Cypress for that. Patrick says, why don't more interview processes do take-home problems? I really enjoyed them. You know, back in college, I used to love take-home exams. Sure, they might have been a little bit harder, but like having my normal tools at my disposal and more time to do them at my disposal, I thought was really helpful and less stressful. I don't know why companies don't do take-homes. Probably because it's expensive and like it takes a lot of time. Aloha says, full of pizza and you have a great beard. You know, I'm starving. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I haven't eaten since dinner, so I would love to have some pizza. Katerina says, what's your favorite project you worked on? Well, I can share a project I worked on at Microsoft. I don't work there anymore, so I can talk about it. So almost the entire 13 years I worked at Microsoft, I worked on more or less the same thing because I absolutely loved it from day one. So if you've ever like signed in to Outlook Web or maybe like Azure Portal, you know that page where you have to enter your username and password? I built that. Well, I helped, my team built that. I loved it. I thought I was providing value to the planet by making a pleasing user experience for people to access their email or their Outlook or their Office documents or their Azure Portal or whatever. And I also felt pretty good about the security that the team provided and keeping the things that belong to you only in your hands and nobody else's. See ya, OpenJ. Take it easy. Doesn't your mustache get foodie? It does. I have to cut my food up into little tiny pieces like a toddler and drink out of a straw. But it's a small price to pay. And sometimes you get little gifts for later. It's just like, why does my mustache smell like whiskey? I don't know. Hopefully I don't get banned for saying that word. I don't know the rules on TikTok. Katerina, hopefully you've had a good experience using that website. Now this is the first time I've ever really grown out my facial hair. The only thing I don't like is the dent you get from your chin. See this dent right here? It's really annoying. I'm constantly having to like poof it out. All right, it's like 1:50 here. I really have to go to bed. I'm gonna do 10 more minutes and then we'll call it a night. Yeah, other secrets about the software industry that y'all might not be aware of. The only constant in software engineering, especially at FAANG companies, is that there's going to be change. You can rely on it almost like clockwork. If you've ever the thought ever enters your brain that there hasn't been a reorg lately, there's literally one going to happen right around the corner. If you don't know what a reorg is, it's like a massive shuffling of people and teams and managers and leadership because somebody thought it would be a better idea to shuffle things up. How hard is your day-to-day work? Yeah, it kind of depends. Generally, it's not very hard. And I actively try to position myself to work on a product in a team where it's like not super hard, but I do want some challenge. You want your work to be somewhat challenging. Yeah, not too hard. It used to be hard when I was younger. It was hard because I was really still learning a lot of the fundamentals and things. But now that I have a pretty good handle on that stuff, work is fun. Aloha. Yeah, reorganization of the employees. Is that Portuguese? The little dangle on the C I don't recognize as being Spanish, so I'm guessing Portuguese. Also, software engineering just in general is hard, but like it's not the same kind of hard as being a like neuroscientist or an anesthesiologist or a construction worker or something like that, or a teacher. It can be very hard at times, but it kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes you have hard days, sometimes you don't. So the only experience I have with Portuguese is when I was in high school Spanish class, we had to choose a name for ourselves. And I wanted to choose the name Smile for whatever reason. I liked smiling back in high school. But the problem is in Spanish, smile is a feminine noun or verb. It's I think it's sonrisa. And like I didn't necessarily at the time want to have a feminine name for myself. So I went over to Portuguese, and in Portuguese it's sorriso, which is masculine. So sorriso was my name in Spanish class. Lechuga. What's lechuga? Isn't it like a drink? What is that? What's lechuga? I forget what lechuga is. Patrick says, have you enjoyed software engineering more with time or gotten jaded? Oh, lettuce. That's right. That's right, lettuce. I've enjoyed it more. Mostly because I finally figured out what it is I enjoy doing. And the first, I don't know, even 10 years of my career, I just kind of went with the flow and went where it took me, for the most part. It's not true entirely, but like, it took me to a place I didn't want to be. But now, like, I know where I want to be. So if I ever feel like something is pulling me away from the path that leads me to where I want to be, I go and step back onto that path. I mean, I'll make changes to better my position. Thanks for the follow. Aloha. It's almost Saturday, so I'm going to say happy Saturday to you in advance. I really, really, really wish that TikTok Live Studio would work. Whenever I run it, is always some other error. In fact, I'm almost convinced now that it's not intended to work. It's supposed to be some application on my PC that they're using to like farm credentials or like do something, so I might just uninstall it. But I feel like other people are using TikTok Live Studio, but I just open it and it's like, no, you're not allowed to go live right now. Okay, I'll use my phone. That's cool, aloha. I wish I knew more languages. The only other language I could potentially even try to read is Spanish and JavaScript. 123654 says, how do you ever get a promotion above your manager if you know you are better than him by a lot? So that question doesn't really resonate to me because like I don't picture my manager as being above me. My manager, sure, they're like on paper they're my boss and they could potentially fire me, but no, they're just a peer of mine. And their job on the team, just like everybody else has a specific reason they're on the team, their job is to manage the people, and my job is to manage the technical aspect of things and ship products. So like getting a promotion above my manager, well, I already am above my manager. Like I have more experience than them, but like I don't want to people manage. So I'm not better than them by a lot. Better at what? Better at people managing or what? Like I'm better at writing code than my manager, but he's better than people managing. I do not live in the Bay Area. I live in the Seattle area. Yeah. I went to school at Washington State University. If you don't know where that is, it's not in Seattle. It's over almost to Idaho in Pullman, Washington. And then I got my job offer at Microsoft in 2007. I moved across the state and I've lived in the greater Seattle area ever since. So 123654, I want to know why it's not 123456. I think I missed a comment. I apologize. It scrolled off. David says, any tips on getting college CS internships? Yeah, go to your career fairs. If they're having them, don't sleep in. Just go to them. All right. 3 minutes left in this live. I apologize if you just got here, but I've been here a long time. However, I am downloading all my lives and uploading them to my YouTube, although I haven't yet put my YouTube link in my link tree. I'll do that momentarily. So you know how a lot of other people go live and they have like text on their screen or like, I don't know, a background image or something like that. Is every single person using TikTok Live Studio to do that? Not their phone? Or can you do that on your phone? Anyone know? I'm pretty new to live. S55Mo says, do you think a CIS degree is better if someone is not that good in more advanced math? I think so. Like if math really isn't your thing, and I know CS does require some pretty advanced math, Calc 2 and Calc 3 at least. If that's not your thing, then sure. I wouldn't think twice about someone who hadn't taken a lot of math. Although my degree is in math, so I understand the value that math brings to software engineering, but it's absolutely not a requirement. There's a YouTube link there. I don't know what that is. Click it. Somebody click it. Tell me what it is. Or Aloha, you tell me what it is. Something to do with Portuguese, maybe. Or maybe that's my YouTube. I don't know. Or maybe it's a Rickroll. I don't recognize the URL, though. Hey, new folks. I'm just about to end the live. I apologize. It's 2 a.m. here. Just about 2 a.m. And my booty needs to go to bed. It's a video of a Santo Daime ceremony. Did I pronounce that correctly? Apologies. Daime? Santo Daime? Thanks for the follow, Soon. Appreciate it. It's fun seeing that follower count go up. I don't know why. It just is. I like checking it to see what the number is. It's like any other like game, right? Especially like an incremental game. Although it's actual human beings and some bots. Documentary. Daime. I've never been to Hawaii. I need to go. My wife keeps asking us when we're going to go. We were going to take my son when he turned 5 for his birthday to Hawaii, but then that was when the pandemic happened, like 2020, so we didn't go. All right, I'll do one more question. So if you're in the middle of typing it, you better type fast. If you're not the first person to leave a question, we'll have to save it for another day or night, because I probably won't be able to go live much during the day, unless maybe I did it on a weekend. And if there are no other questions, I'll leave you with some wisdom, which is, if you guys think I have any idea what I'm talking about, just know that's not true. Yeah, it's just like everybody else in the tech industry. I'm just making it all up as I go along. And any tech content that you see on TikTok, mine included, should always take with a grain of salt, especially if it says paid partnership at the bottom. All right, the meaning of life. Yeah, the meaning of life is ice cream. And not to take it very seriously, if at all. That's it. I'm going to reach and push the button, and the phone's going to jiggle a little bit as I miss it. Have a good night, y'all. Button, and the phone's going to jiggle a little bit as I miss it. Have a good night, y'all.